The Palatine Hill is the centermost of the 7 hills of Rome and is one of the most ancient parts of the city. It stands 40 meters above the Roman Forum, looking down upon it on one side, and upon the Circus Maximus on the other. It is the etymological origin of the word palace and its cognates in other languages. Etymology. According to Livy, the Palatine Hill got its name from the Arcadian settlement of Palatium. More likely, it is derived from the noun palatum, palate. Ennius uses it once for the heaven, and it may be connected with the Etruscan word for sky, falad. The term palace itself stems from Palatium. Mythology. According to Roman mythology, the Palatine Hill was the location of the cave known as the Lupercal, where Romulus and Remus were found by the she-wolf Lupa that kept them alive. According to this legend, the shepherd Faustulus thereafter found the infants, and with his wife Acacia Laurentia raised the children. When they were older, the boys killed the great-uncle, and they both decided to build a new city of their own on the banks of the river Tiber. Suddenly, they had a violent argument with each other, and in the end Romulus killed his twin brother Remus. This is how Rome got its name, from Romulus. Another legend to occur on the Palatine is Hercules' defeat of Cacus after the monster had stolen some cattle. Hercules struck Cacus with his characteristic club so hard that it formed a cleft on the southeast corner of the hill, where later a staircase bearing the name of Cacus was constructed. History. Rome has its origins on the Palatine. Excavations show that people have lived in the area since the 10th century BC. According to Livy, after the immigration of the Sabines and the Albans to Rome, the original Romans lived on the Palatine. Many affluent Romans of the Republican period had their residences there. During the Empire, several emperors resided there. In fact, the ruins of the palaces of Augustus, Tiberius and Domitian can still be seen. Augustus also built a temple to Apollo here, beside his own palace. The Palatine Hill was also the site of the festival of the Lupercalia. Location. One building, believed to be the residence of Livia, the wife of Augustus, is currently undergoing renovation. Situated near to the house of Livia is the Temple of Cibola, currently not fully excavated and not open to the public. Behind this structure, cut into the side of the hill, is the so-called House of Tiberius. Overlooking the Forum Romanum is the Flavian Palace, which was built largely during the reign of the Flavian dynasty, Vespasian, Titus and Domitian. This palace, which was extended and modified by several emperors, extends across the Palatine Hill and looks out over the Circus Maximus. The building of the greater part of the palace visible from the circus was undertaken in the reign of the Emperor Septimius Severus. The Palatine Hill, and the Roman Forum beneath it, is now a large open-air museum and can be visited on the same ticket as the Colosseum. The entrance is on Via di San Gregorio, the street just beyond the Arch of Constantine, going away from the Colosseum. The Palatine Stadium, immediately adjacent to the Flavian Palace of Severus, is the Hippodrome of Domitian Stadium. This is a structure which has the appearance of a Roman circus and whose name means circus in Greek, but is too small to accommodate chariots. Hippodromes were originally areas for exercising horses, but later in Rome, hippodrome was used to describe elongated rectangular gardens. It can also be described as a Greek stadium that is a venue for foot races. Its exact purpose is disputed. While it is certain that during the Severan period it was used for sporting events, it was most likely originally built as a stadium-shaped garden. According to a guide from the Soprintendenza Archeologica di Roma, most of the statuary in the nearby Palatine Museum comes from the Hippodrome. On the eastern side of the Hippodrome is a large exedra decorated with sculptures and fountains commanding views of the garden below. Domitian also built a larger stadium that was actually used for foot racing competitions. It exists today as Piazza Navona, Lo Stadio di Domitiano. Excavations. During Augustus's reign, an area of the Palatine Hill was roped off for a sort of archaeological expedition, which found fragments of Bronze Age pots and tools. He declared this site the original town of Rome. Modern archaeology has identified evidence of Bronze Age settlement in the area which predates Rome's founding. There is a museum on the Palatine in which artifacts dating from before the official foundation of the city are displayed. The museum also contains Roman statuary. An altar to an unknown deity, once thought to be Aius Lucullus, was discovered here in 1820. In July 2006, archaeologists announced the discovery of the Palatine House, which they believed to be the birthplace of Rome's first emperor, Augustus. Head archaeologist Clementina Panella uncovered a section of corridor and other fragments under Rome's Palatine Hill, which she described on July 20 as a very ancient aristocratic house. The two-story house appears to have been built around an atrium, with frescoed walls and mosaic flooring, and is situated on the slope of the Palatine that overlooks the Colosseum and the Arch of Constantine. The Republican-era houses on the Palatine were overbuilt by later palaces after the Great Fire of Rome, but apparently this one was not. The tempting early inference is that it was preserved for a specific and important reason. On the ground floor, 3 shops opened onto the Via Sacra. The location of the domus is important because of its potential proximity to the Curia Vetris, the earliest shrine of the Curies of Rome. In January 2007, Italian archaeologist Irene Jacopi announced that she had probably found the legendary Lupercal cave beneath the remains of Augustus's residence, the Domus Livia on the Palatine. Archaeologists came across the 16-meter-deep cavity while working to restore the decaying palace. The first photos of the cave show a richly decorated vault encrusted with mosaics and seashells. The Lupercal was probably converted to a sanctuary by Romans in later centuries. In November 2007, archaeologists unveiled photographs of the cave, partially collapsed and decorated with seashells and colored marble. The vaulted sanctuary is buried 16 meters inside the Palatine Hill. A white eagle was found atop the sanctuary's vault. Most of the sanctuary is collapsed or filled with earth, but laser scans allowed experts to estimate that the circular structure has a height of 8 meters and a diameter of 7.3 meters. Adriano La Regina, Professor Fausto Zevi and Professor Hanna von Hesburg denied the identification of the grotto with Lupercal on topographic and stylistic grounds. They concluded that the grotto is actually a nymphaeum or underground triclinium from Neronian times.